to the basically white wall behind me. aka I'm losing furniture from my apartment rapidly, which is sort of a good thing right now. So continuing changes of placement are to be expected. And today, as you'll have noticed by the title, we're going to step away from the last 2 books of the series and step into a set of bonus videos about Beedle the Bard. Not my copy. This is from the local library, aka I went last night and I literally had to walk into the children's section, which seemed to have an event going on for children. Walk up the aisle with the Harry Potter books and take Beedle the Bard out while feeling guilty that I'm somehow robbing children, taking candy from a baby. But I'm not planning to have this one long, because what I'm basically going to do is, it's going to be a set of, if you include this introduction video, 5 videos, but it's really 4. I know there are 5 stories, but I'm not going to do The Tale of the Three Brothers, simply because that is better read in the context that we are going to get it in Deathly Hallows. So I am actually going to leave it and focus on our other stories, which don't get brought up in detail in the normal books, and focus on them. So I will be going, of course, in order. Doing The Wizard and the Hopping Pot, then The Fountain of Fair Fortune, The Warlock's Hairy Heart, and then Babbity Rabbity and the Cackling Stump. So I think that's going to go well. I'm planning to do them all today. I happen to have a sort of a free day where I need to be here in the apartment, so I'll be sort of working on these intermingled with doing other chores in the apartment, and handling things that way. Now what I'm going to do is, there are of course notably the notes from Albus Dumbledore at the end of each story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the story. I'll then do the first part of the video just about my opinions of the story. Then I will pause from the video, I will read Albus Dumbledore's notes, and then I will come back and consider those notes alongside the story, and we'll do sort of 2-part videos that way. That way I'm not letting the additional notes by Dumbledore sort of override everything, but I'm not writing them off completely. To go along with this introduction to the bonus videos, I guess we can take a brief look at the introduction that Rowling provides. Here again, she seems to be playing this, it is sort of a trope of fantasy stories where you're not actually the author of such things, but the translator. Tolkien did this throughout his work, where he claims very directly, of course, that he's got these things from the Red Book of Westmarch and things like that, where he's adjusted the reckoning of days from one race to another, that he's basically translating Bilbo's works and things like that. And in fact, in a couple of versions, he's not claiming that he is the author, he's very directly claiming he's the translator, and thus his name will appear not on as written by J.R.R. Tolkien, but translated by J.R.R. Tolkien. And we've got Rowling doing a very similar thing, where she talks about, of course, that this is a translation from the Ruins by Hermione Granger, with the annotated notes by Albus Dumbledore. But we have her doing the introduction, and then a note on the footnotes, where she says, of course, that she's added in the terms that might be necessary for Muggle children to understand this other than Wizarding children. So I'm finding that quite interesting, and we'll have to keep it in mind. Very straightforward sort of introduction. These are the fairy tales. And then she gives us two main differences from sort of the Muggle fairy tales. The second one is that the witches tend to be more proactive in these things, and I do have to agree with that. From the fairy tales I grew up with, the women really not so proactive, unless they were in a villain role. But the first thing is that in the Muggle fairy tales, problems tend to stem from magic. I would like to sort of argue with that a bit, because we do have problems stemming from magic, but the solutions usually also stem from magic in some way. The curse that makes Sleeping Beauty fall asleep includes the magical kiss that's going to wake her up. Same with Snow White and the Poisoned Apple. We are getting... the solutions have a magical core just as much as the problems do. So then she goes on, of course, to say that oftentimes it's not the most powerful magic that wins, but the people who are the kindest and the wisest and things like that. So I really do think that's something we need to keep in mind, not just when we're reading something like wizarding fairy tales, but our own fairy tales as well. Not to place magic as a positive or a negative, but the intention behind it as making it so. Okay, so now that I've got that introduction done, I am going to go ahead and read my first story, and then we'll get right into this. Because it's a pretty simple introduction, I probably will upload the first video about the stories pretty close after this, so you won't have to wait long for our hopping pot. Okay, let's get into it. I'll see you next time.